We've had a weekend to play with Modern Warfare 2 now, and I've had a fair few games on every single map. So I decided to make a video where I'm going to rank all of the 6v6 multiplayer maps that are currently in the game. So that means in this video I'm not going to be talking about the ground war maps, maybe I'll talk about those in a different video, and I'm also not going to talk about Valderas Museum. Even though we got to play on that quite a lot during the beta, for some reason it's not in the game right now, so I'm not going to include this in this ranking. So that means there's 10 6v6 maps in the game right now, and I'm going to rank them from the worst to what I think is the best. Now of course this is probably going to be controversial, you're probably going to disagree with me. Let me know in the comments, let me see your rankings, or at least what you think are the best and worst maps. I'd be really interested to see what you think of each one, because I've heard some very different opinions all across the internet. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, it really does help me, and consider subscribing and turning your notifications on. I stream a lot of Modern Warfare 2 right here on YouTube, so if you turn notifications on, you'll get told as soon as I go live. Right, let's get on with the list. So at the bottom of the list, I've put Tarak at number 10. Now this map is massively open, and that's the big problem with it for me. That if you're playing objective modes, and I like to play a lot of hardpoint, sometimes domination, trying to move between objectives is a nightmare because there's so many snipers, there's so many different angles, you can't possibly check all of them. It means it's really easy to get killed by someone that you never saw in the first place. It is kind of interesting having a map where so many of the locations have so little cover, because it means that you're really trying to use every little scrap you possibly can, but it also means that kill streaks can absolutely dominate here. Things like VTOLs, chopper gunners can destroy entire teams here, which is super irritating. So at the moment, this is my least favourite map. Then at number 9 we have one that I think for a lot of other people is their least favourite, and that's the Santa Sena border crossing. So this is that big border one with loads of cars down a highway. I don't absolutely hate this map. I think it's really interesting just because it's so different to anything that we've had in Modern Warfare before. Having all of the cars that can potentially explode means that at the beginning of the map it's very different to the end. Like at the beginning you're constantly having to worry about explosives, you're probably trying to sort of always have an escape route available, then by the end the entire map's a big smoking wreck. That's pretty cool. There are 3 lanes, despite I've heard people saying, no, this is a 1-lane map. There are kind of 3 lanes, because there's the route with all of the cars, then there's the really little tunnel, then there's the much narrower highway that has a lot less cars on the far side. So there are kind of 3 lanes to this, but all of them have super long sight lines again. Snipers can have a field day, and the sort of random risk of dying to vehicle explosions isn't a lot of fun. Now I definitely don't hate this map as much as some people do. I like the fact that we've got a big variety of maps, but this is probably one of the more frustrating ones. Now at number 8 we have Crown Raceway, and I think a lot of people really love this map. Most of the reason I don't like it is because of hardpoint. Like, I play hardpoint more than anything else while I've been leveling up the weapons, and I find the objectives on Crown Raceway super irritating for some reason. Loads of them are just in quite big open spaces with, again, lots and lots of different routes to attack you from, which is something that I'm not a big fan of. I prefer maps where you can control locations, and so this is another one of those ones where there's some really long sight lines on here. If people are handy with sniper rifles, they can absolutely dominate. I do love the way this map looks. I really wish Modern Warfare in general, like 2019 and Modern Warfare 2, had a bit more colour in them. Like, I really like Black Ops Cold War having all those vibrant maps, and this is probably the most colourful of the maps in Modern Warfare 2. But yeah, the long sight lines kind of annoy me, and the number of like 90-degree corners, so everything feels a bit square and blocky, just makes it feel a bit less interesting to me. So from number 7, we're starting to get into the maps where I do really like these. I've had loads of good games on all of them. But at number 7, I've put Embassy. Now this is a map that I find really interesting. You've got 3 completely different buildings. You've got some rooftop areas. You've got some long ladders that kind of get you into a good position, but are super risky to try. You have long sight lines all the way around the map and then through that middle lane. But then you've got lots of fighting all the way through the buildings and areas that people can properly control. And Hardpoint does a good job of kind of moving between those different kinds of areas. Really like that. The main reason it's so low down is that it looks so unbelievably bland. Modern Warfare has always had a problem of like lots of green, grey, brown colour palettes that are kind of uninteresting to look at, and this is one of them. It's just a very boring looking map, which is a real shame because I think the sort of geography of it, the geometry of it, whatever you want to call it, the layout is really, really solid. Now at number 6, we've got a map that looks much better, much more vibrant, and that's Mercado Las Almas. So this is the market. This is one of the maps I played the most in the beta. I think most of us did, and it's an absolutely awesome map. I really enjoy how different it plays going through the warehouse side, or you've got the market route up through the middle, or you've got the cantina on the other side. You've got that little cut through room with doors on either side, which is actually one of the objectives for Hardpoint. I just think all of the different areas on this give you so much variety within matches. You can have lots of different types of gunfights. Now the only thing I really don't like about this map is all of those little odd boxes. There's one just near Cantina, there's one up on near the end of one of the spawns at the end of the market, there's one just outside the warehouse. Just these little boxes where people can hide on top of, people can go prone, and often have a really good view of the surrounding area. I just feel like they could get rid of those and stop people from sniping down the entire corridors while being fairly well protected from every angle. I'd just like them to get rid of those little boxes that you can hop up on, and then I'd be perfectly happy with this map. Now at number 5, we have a map that I don't think was many people's favourite in the beta, but I really enjoy it, and that is Farm 18. So you might have noticed a pattern in all of these like descriptions of why I've ranked them the way I have, that I really like variety in the maps. I like it when maps give you lots of different ways to play, lots of different types of combat encounters, and Farm 18 is super good at doing that, I think. So you've got all of the buildings around the edge lend themselves to sort of different styles of gameplay. You've got some quite big open spaces and streets if people want to do sniping, but then you've also got obviously the central training area where you've got really close quarters fighting. Almost feels like something like Shipment if lots of people go in there. I think this is an awesome map. I think it works really well with all of the different objective modes that I've played so far. I just really enjoy the variety of Farm 18. The big thing that counts against it to me is just, again, how dreary it looks. It's a really boring map to look at, lots of like greens and greys, and I just think that's a little bit of a shame. It'd be cool if it was a little bit more colourful, but it is what it is. At number 4, we have a map that, to be honest, I forget about all the time, but then when it comes up, I have a really good time on this map. It's El Asilo. I think I forget about this map because it's another dreary looking one. It's not very interesting visually. Even though there's loads of detail and loads of cool little sort of environments in it, it just doesn't look very interesting. But it's got this huge structure in the middle with lots of different areas. So there's like a balcony terrace, there's some upstairs rooms. In the middle there's a bit that almost seems like a prison kind of interior, which I think is very cool. And then some little routes around it. And then all the way around the edge of the map, you've got all of these tiny little structures. Hardpoint goes through quite a lot of them, and so it's kind of fun running between them. But because these are around the outside of the map, as opposed to something like Turak, you don't have to run out in the open very much, and there's no sight lines all the way across the map because the big structure in the middle is blocking it. There's a really good objective in this in Hardpoint that's kind of up on a hill where there's a radio antenna, and that's a really fun thing to attack. It lends itself to some really kind of dramatic moments, so I really enjoy El Asilo. Now the next map is one that's basically this high because of a gimmick, but I love the gimmick, and that is ZARQWA HYDROELECTRIC. I've heard some people complaining about this, but I think it's a really good map. I think it's very bright and colourful, which I like a lot. There's a nice little mix of different environments, like most of the environments are suited to close quarters combat, but there's a couple of good positions if you can climb up high or look out on windows. There's a lot of verticality in this one, which I find kind of interesting. Not many of the maps have much of that, but the best thing about it is that it uses the water. Weirdly, as far as I know, it's the only multiplayer map where you have any water that you can swim around in. And there's some really cool tunnels, so you can get flanks and stuff, you can chase people down. Having a weapon that works underwater is actually an advantage on this map. It's really cool, and I wish they'd put it in more. Hopefully with the DLC maps, we'll see a little bit more of the water being used. But yeah, it's a super fun map. I really enjoy it, and I hope that in the future we get more of these kind of underwater tunnels. It adds so much to the game, and just kind of gives it a bit of a twist, gives it a bit of variety, which I care about so much. At number 2, we have a map that actually wasn't in the game at launch, but then got added back in, and that is BREENBERGH Hotel. So this is the Amsterdam hotel map. I think this is easily the best looking map in the game. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and a big part of that is because, bizarrely, this is based on a real hotel. When someone told me in chat, I did not believe them, but it is 100% based on a real hotel where apparently they didn't get permission from it. It's called like the Conservatorium Hotel in Amsterdam, and it looks exactly like this. I can't believe they made it and didn't get permission from the owners before releasing a massively popular game where you're going to be shooting people here and blowing stuff up. It seems utterly bizarre they didn't do that. But for some reason, this real life hotel lent itself very well to a very interesting map. Loads of really varied locations, different types of gunfights. In the main lobby bit, there's some quite long angles, but then there's lots of chance for sort of like close quarters fighting, lots of easy ways to get good flanks. Really, really enjoy this map, even a bit of verticality. And like I said, it's absolutely stunning. At number 1, we have the map that I personally think is the best map in Modern Warfare 2 so far, and that is BAGRA Fortress. Now, I might be a bit biased towards this map because it basically got me through the shield and knife challenges when I was getting platinum for both of those. It's got such good flow to it, this map. There's so many different routes, there's so many different ways to wrap around people, so many different ways to flank people. But if you're playing hardpoint, you can actually control areas quite well. If you know those routes, you can hold them down just with like 2 or 3 people. And I think it's got that really perfect balance of kind of enough different options for how you move around and lots of verticality, but also enough kind of choke points so when you're playing objective modes, you can hold it down a little bit. Absolutely love the Fortress map. I hope we see some more like that. Yes, it does look dreary and brown and it doesn't have a very interesting color palette, but it's also kind of a cool museum and there's cannons and wooden ships and stuff like that, so it does look kind of cool. So there you have it. That is my entire list. That is my ranking of the multiplayer maps that we've had so far. Like I said, let me know in the comments what your rankings are, what your favorite maps, your least favorite maps. Do you think I'm horrendously wrong about some of these? I can't imagine we'll disagree about any of them, but you never know. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.